fuck you.
Jevin, turn it back.
Oh, whoa, Jevin! Jevin, you idiot!
You messed it up already.
Do I
Well,
end it? Do I end it?
Oh, no.
Let's roll with it. Jevin's incriminated himself.
Let's just
Connor
roll with it.
has started the timer. It's too late.
Where did I throw my phone?
This
Alright.
Wait, are we all the cuss? I'm
performance
confused.
theobald.
No, it's just...
So
Oh my god. Rylan, look at the camera. Stop being stupid. Okay.
It's all good.
So, today, we're meeting after supposedly reading the first through sixth chapter of the glorious book Brave New World by the amazing writer Aldous Huxley. Literally the maddest lad in all the land.
yes.
Alright. So, I think we should probably begin by just, doing a little breakdown of what happened in the first 6 chapters. So, I understand there may or may not be individuals in this call
Okay,
who
let's
may or
make
may
it
not.
clear. My book doesn't come until the day after we're recording this. Jevin's book came literally 5 minutes before we recorded this. So, I literally could not get it earlier, so...
Big rip, but we're persevering on. There's great resources, aka sparknotes.com, the greatest resource of any high school student. So yeah, alright. So, chapter 1.
So chapter 1. So let's
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1 was. So let's. I was. Yes, a brief.
I have
I'm not sure what happened. Okay, so you got your notes. Good job. Okay, well, let's. Chapter 1. So get like some background on like
Shoot.
Oh my god.
this whole world, right? And like the main focus is on like this company called the almost DH, which artificially make babies. That's like that.
The hatchery.
That's like the huge picture of everything, basically. All right. Who's got some more to add?
So in the parts where it talks about how to make the babies, basically, at least it sounds like they basically take all of the eggs out of a female.
Yeah.
And then take just a bunch of random person sperm, which is,
Yeah.
and then they just throw it in like a bucket.
Oh, they surgically remove the, the ovaries to produce ova.
Yeah. So they yoink all the eggs, then they artificially fertilize the eggs, and then they also introduce this idea of like a caste system.
Yeah.
So
there's like
I think there's 5
alphas.
Yes, there's 5.
And like stuff like that.
There's the alpha and the beta, which are the top 2, and then there's the gamma, delta, and epsilon. Epsilon being the lowest, and then delta and then gamma. And how the bottom 3 are basically they're almost made sort of brain damaged, so that the other 2 are always perceived to be the top, the more elite of the 5. And
so they talk about how the way that the children are matured, they're basically put in these jars, and they mature in these jars, and they'll actually add certain things to certain caste shards that they don't add to others. So for some of them they'll add alcohol, so that like stunts the growth, or they'll deprive them of oxygen. Or at one point it even talks about how for specific babies that are going to perform specific jobs, they'll undergo specific like stimulus. So they talked about some that will work. I forget what they called it, but they'll work in the specific. If they work in a specific field where they might have to have some sort of training, then or like predisposition to something, then they'll be exposed to that when they're in the little bottles.
Yeah.
Mm. Jevin joined us.
Okay.
So, assuming the role of the word wizard, I think it's incredibly important to point out on that first page.
Yeah.
Are their little society, which is community, identity, and stability. And I guess this kind of goes throughout the first, like, let's say 3 chapters. This idea that stability is the ultimate need for their work. And that this is everything that they're trying to achieve. Like the government control through cloning, the government control through the scientific advancements is then also tied in with sort of these like greater ideas of consumerism, how humans cloning and the same, almost the exact same as it was for like Henry Ford, which is always mentioned throughout these first 6 chapters. I mean, their time is literally measured after Ford, AF.
Yeah.
So,
Which also makes sense for the time period the novel was written, because it was written in the 1930s, right after the release of the Model T. So, you know.
Yeah. And then like, so going off the Connor, like, so like, what just kind of like things could like a draw from like this huge desire for stability, like what would that mean for humans, like in as a general, to want stability?
Well, I think we sort of see that in the novel with so like there's a lot of things that they have the society that like we don't have in our society, but there's also a lot of things in our society that they lack. So I think like you could perceive the things that they lose as a result of the decisions that they make as a society to not allow things like marriage and to have all children be like factory produced in favor of stability. That would be like things like marriage and like having a normal childhood would be things that they give up. So like in favor of stability, they don't have marriage. In fact, a lot of they talk a lot in the later chapters about encouraging people to have like open relationships and rampant sexual promiscuity, which you know is a major theme. Not as much in the early sections. In the first 3 chapters, it's a lot more about the way that the children are made, but then later it becomes a lot more about like sexual promiscuity and freedom in general.
Yeah.
So would we say that like this as a new form of as mass stability, like would to give almost like like free will to the people?
Well, like, so you're talking about, like, the fact that they have one basic job in their life, and then they're just free to do whatever they feel like. I guess it does give freedom, except for, I mean, do you really feel the need to have something else in life when you're raised and you're literally programmed to work for one job?
I think that's like one of the main arguments that the novel brings up is like if they're conditioned at such a young age when they aren't even able to think for themselves, and then when they actually gain the ability to think for themselves, they're then conditioned in such a way that they don't want anything other than what they're given. Are you really restricting their freedom? I think that's it's an interesting question the novel poses, but I do think that, particularly in the character of Bernardo later in the novel, he specifically has issues with this notion of freedom and like particularly in chapter 6 he talks about how even though everything might be better than it has been in the past, it's still unfortunate to see that he and other people have less freedom as a result of the decisions that have been made.
Okay.
What I found interesting, and like a question I have about the book
Yes,
would be like, aren't we already wouldn't you say like we're already being programmed? I mean, not like this like extensively because it's
yeah.
a book. Like society, like we think
Mhm.
some people. Well, not I don't know about us. But, like some people are born and programmed to believe that they are inherently better than other people.
Yeah, like so with like social class structures in our world, right? And then like so with like let's just say like the current school system, right? Like taught there's one right way to do things, right? Like there there's this one right path to go on, right? So which is and to get a degree and to get a job. So that's kind of like a similar type of programming that so we have, but it's just more like so widely accepted. And then like the uh, uh, alternate routes, like a program or a like freelance so job, right? Like that's so less accepted. And then like so what can we kind of like connect between those two forms of kind of like some brainwashing, I guess.
So I think that you could argue that. So if you're talking two complete opposites, right? You have one ideology that's brainwashing, and there is no individual decision making. It's
Mhm.
purely based off of how an individual was raised and how it describes in the book the neo-Pavlovian situations they are subjected to. And then you have the complete opposite, which is 100% total freedom, and everything's based off of that person's judgment and their opinions on what they want to do. I think that you could argue, especially in like today's society in America, like we have a particular emphasis on freedom and individuality, but you could argue that even that is just brainwashing. Like if
Yeah,
you're brainwashed to think that your opinion is always the most important, isn't that just as bad as thinking
yeah,
that you only have one goal in life and you were destined to fulfill this one role that was given to you, and if you tried to do anything else, that would be like a failure?
yeah.
Um,
Like so that could also connect to of like as which um like social class you belong to, or as to which culture you belong to. Like so being a half Asian American, right? Like I, I've been taught like that like if I did not to go to school to become like like in like a lucrative profession, then I, I, I would a a seducer, right? But then there's a like a super relaxed family, which puts more emphasis on um what us makes their kids happy, and then like so we can see like those two us clashing. I I I I I I I I did I the ologies was within the book too, like so with Bernard and like to him just kind of like uh, so questioning like why his life is um this way it is.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
I agree.
Okay,
So
so
I'm
we
gonna
can move
write
on
that.
to chapter two.
I'm gonna write that down in a text outline, and I'm gonna call it. I'm just gonna write like this idea of nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
guys, my laptop's at like 2%. I'm gonna go get a charger.
You should
Okay.
also open it with it so we can see that beautiful face So it looks like a dungeon.
Okay, so more for Devin. So let's move on to chapter 2 then, or just skip to chapters 5 and 6. We kind of like touched on a lot there.
Luke,
Yeah,
are you
of course.
you're the leader?
Why? Okay, I'm okay. So this is the one. This chapter mostly focuses on the way that the children are conditioned. So this is where it introduces the term neo-Pavlovian conditioning rooms. That's what they call them in the infant nurseries. And then I think at
Yeah.
the end it also briefly it briefly touches upon like the first idea of sexuality and the promiscuity that's encouraged in the younger
Yeah.
individuals.
Okay, so that's I guess a big thing that we can touch on is like sexuality and like sexual desires and like what they mean and like so one so question I so wrote down in my notes was, is sexual desire the 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 truest feeling humans have? Like, yeah,
I don't. I wouldn't. I feel like it's hard. It's a hard argument to say it's the truest.
yeah,
I feel like it's not. I feel like the whole attitude towards sexuality is not necessarily focused on particularly like the sexual, like the nature of sexuality and sex and like what it means to experience it.
yeah,
I think it's more of an extension of this idea of stability, in
yeah,
that like biologically humans have sexual urges, and I think by like not only allowing sexual promiscuity but encouraging it, it
mm-hmm.
it helps alleviate like individuals' feelings of like frustration or anger, and I think that's what they talk about like a lot later. This is kind of getting out of this chapter. I think in this chapter it's mostly just this idea that like
Yeah.
this society, it's just to emphasize that the society will do anything, or like I think it's also in reference to like the change that the author like saw in the early 1900s. Like there's very radical cultural shifts and like industrial shifts, and I think that he was trying to mirror that and like imagine what it's going to be like 400 years ago, 400 years from now, if this much has just changed in this amount of time. So I think it was sort of like an appeal to the people of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's also the focus a lot on conditioning, as they bring it up with this idea of like the physical conditioning and how they're training the infants, the babies, to be or to be able to uphold like the direct status quo of the world government and the world state, with them playing with the books and the roses, and then they blast the sirens and they electrically shock them to make a direct link that nature is bad and you don't want to be they want to associate bad thoughts with the books, with literature and nature, and then that's the physical playing the sound. They're talking about like how good everything is and how they should like what's like Henry Ford and all these other guys, and it's to show that words in the form of conditioning with the state, the words are also as powerful as actual physical conditioning, and then it somewhat touches on like how the different castes are then divided in that ways as well in chapter 2.
okay. Could say from uh, condition like it's so basically like programmed uh, so little kids like and so dislike certain things, and then could we say that that's that's also a form of uh, stability, like to keep dislikes and its likes just kind of like simple. We could say.
I think that's what this chapter is trying to do. It's trying to set state or the world state. Is how they're trying to create this abolition of everything that they deem to be a threat to what to what they believe stability is, and that sort of the other ideas that like consumerism or whatever is what's driving happiness. And so then they're going to condition everyone to be a part of what they think is going to maintain stability. And they think that it really, what chapter 2 does is it establishes for the later chapters like 4, 5, and 6, want to focus on Bernard's interactions, the idea of how there is so very little and how the world is set up as it is. And so it's sort of, I guess, laying the ground of what the state, the lengths that the state is going through to secure their beliefs in this like ultimate goal of stability, and how they need to have community and identity be so immediately linked and such.
Yeah. Sounds good. Got anything more to add? Chapter
for like an important passage. It's right at the end of chapter 2. I think this is like just a good passage that pretty much, it's like the second to last paragraph, but I think it does a good job of sort of summarizing how they feel about conditioning the children and like why they're doing it. So it says, till at last the child's mind is these suggestions, and the sum of the suggestions is the child's mind, and not the child's mind only, the adult's mind too. All his life long, the mind that judges and desires and decides made up of these suggestions, but all these suggestions are our suggestions. So I think that is sort of commentary on that nurture versus nature dichotomy. Like, the way that these individuals are created, they are 100% nature. Like, they are not the individuals that they like were born as. They are simply like constructs created by the people who are trying to build this perfect society.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Chapters went in like the sexual stuff.
Okay. Well, this chapter mostly talked about sexuality. It opens right off with in the center where the children are raised. Talks about there's hundreds of naked naked boys and girls running around. It also talks about, I forget what they call it. I think they call it erotic play.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it says erotic play.
Yeah. So they talk about erotic play and how erotic play is encouraged in the children.
And then when one of the kids is uncomfortable by it, they are sent to see like a psychiatrist to see what's wrong with them.
Yeah. And then like so, yes, the main reason that like is to create ability, so like that child who felt uncomfortable will also be like their peers and like some be secluded.
Yeah, this is also the chapter that introduces it starts like breaking up, and it starts shifting between a bunch of different stories occurring. So it introduces a bunch of new characters, and introduces Lenina, who's an important character in the later chapters, as well as Lenina's friend Fanny. And then it also introduces Bernard, as well as Bernard's as well as Henry Foster.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 3.
Yeah.
Well, there's also Mustafa Mund who.
Yeah, I think that was in chapter 2.
How was chapter 3?
It might be chapter 3. It's 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Forward ship.
So Nina, she's in like the hyper like the higher caste, right?
So, one important thing that I think we should know is that for so far in the novel, I've not seen a single female individual who is part of the Alpha caste.
Mm-hmm.
Every Alpha caste member so far has been male, and every female counterpart. So like they talk about the relationships and stuff, and every single female that's been talked about has been referred to as a beta cast member. Then they also talk about I think they call it like beta minor or like beta minors or something like that. Or there's like some I don't know. There's like some delineation between in castes between like
I saw that too.
those who are higher or lower. I forgot what exact terminology they used, but
so Lanita, she's a beta.
yeah, she's a beta.
Yeah. And then like that's like the whole reason why so Bernard is just kind of like sort of freaked out, like so with her just wanting to like to get to know, right? Because he's at like the so very bottom.
What?
And like
No, because I'm pretty sure that Bernard is still an Alpha cast member.
he's not.
I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure he's an Alpha cast member. I don't.
Okay.
I'm.
So it's the next guy that's yeah, and Traduce is at like the very bottom. He's not in chapter. That chapter 3. Yeah. So one passage I that was just worth mentioning was on page 42, and it says, so wheels must turn steadily, but cannot turn untended. There must be men to tend to them, must men as steady as the wheels up on their axles. Some men, obedient men, slave in contentment. So like, I like, like, focus on the phrase slave in contentment and like what like that could have some like that like he's like so these so people are slaves in their own like so acceptance of us what's happening and like that could also go back to like this whole ISD that like these people are just purely some nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to move on to chapter 4?
Yeah. This is my chapter.
All right. Don't actually remember really what happens in this chapter.
Yeah.
But
Me neither. So chapter.
so this I think this is most of the introduction between the relationships, like the dichotomy between Lenina, um, Lenina's like current main time sexual partner, Henry, I believe,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
and then essentially her friend Fanny is telling her that it's not normal for her to have one sexual partner, and that she should try to have more than one sexual partner. And then basically she's like, "Oh my god, it's not normal." And then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go, get it on with Bernard." Yeah,
Just like to say something. I like how
yeah.
Kaden walks in my room, and then immediately afterwards, Mateo walks right to Anton's room.
Okay.
Yeah, where's Jathan at this time?
Yeah, where's Jathan?
He's like texting.
Jevin, you're just a shadow. We can't see you.
Oh, you can't?
No. You're
Hey,
just
can you
a
turn your
shadow.
light on, you idiot?
Well,
Whoa, Connor, whoa.
You're the shadow man from Black Ops 2.
Oh god. Okay.
the light is on. I'm confused.
Oh my god, how you live in a dungeon, Jevin? Open the blinds.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna continue talking.
Open the blinds.
Good.
I don't. Okay, I can't.
Now we still can't see you, Jevin.
Whoa. You know what? This is how I knew it. This is how I.
Yeah, Jevin just prefers the six as shadows.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not. It's not
He
hard. It's
belongs to
actually
the
pretty.
streets.
It's
Oh,
actually
this
pretty bright.
Jevin,
I'm
can
in.
you be quiet? Okay. This chapter also talks about Bernard's insecurities about like himself, and how
Yeah.
he feels different than all the other alpha males because he is like shorter than them, and he doesn't propagate
Isolation.
the sexual arena as much as the other people in his cast.
Yeah. Like
He's a bit
so.
lonely.
So, like, um, so, yeah, and 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 a security, right? Like, his physical appearance and like his um drive to keep seeking sexual partners. Could we say that that like it's us like us um some very damaging to compare yourself to others and like see in that constant competition with everyone else.
I think that at least in this society, it's the exact opposite. I think they see that comparing yourself to others, like it's sure it sucks if you're a lower caste member, but if you're like an alpha caste member or a beta caste member, because you don't actually really have any of your own ambitions, it's all given to you by your society. I feel like your superiority over other people is almost the only thing that gives your life or like any value or any meaning.
Okay.
And then that's why for the lower caste members, they can't give them all this freedom when they're like hatching them in the nurseries or decanting them as they call it.
Mhm.
They have to strip away almost all of their self independence and make it so that they can't even perceive the ability that they're like lower than these other cast members, because if they allowed them to think or to like really delve into the thought that they were less than these other people, or that there could be something to change that, or that the life that they had was not sufficient to satisfy their own ambitions, then that would lead to like the destabilizing of their society,
Yeah.
which is exactly what they're trying to prevent.
Yeah.
Okay. I could get that. So it's like the chapter. And the second part was actually really good. Had no clue as what was happening.
Oh, so he was talking to
Part
this
two.
dude.
In the
He's talking to this.
second one?
So in part two, he was talking to this
Yeah,
dude,
it's
Mr. Helmholtz.
Helmholtz.
Uh,
Helmholtz.
it also talks about
Helmholtz
Benito.
Watson.
Talks about Benito Hoover a little bit, which is like this other side character that's not that important, but is still there. Yeah, it talks about Helmholtz, and basically talks about how Mr. Helmholtz Watson pulls all the ladies, and how Bernard doesn't, and that's basically what it talks about. And it also talks about like they fly in this helicopter thing, and talks about how like Helmholtz feels bad for Bernard because Bernard doesn't like himself. He feels like he's an outsider from his caste.
Yeah. Okay. So like, so one could, like, arrive, this guy, Helmholtz is like, so sexual partners could give you like power, I guess, right? Like, or some more status, because he has more sexual.
I don't even know if it's that because I feel like with the level of sexual promiscuity that exists in society, it's almost like I feel like sexuality literally means nothing.
Okay.
Like they literally just don't care about it, and
Yeah.
it's just like a part of life that they don't think is important. But
Because I think that was part of the conditioning in chapter 3. Is how they're when they're children, they're conditioning them to not feel any of this, like how someone today would feel.
yeah, I think it's more about like instant gratification and this idea that like this person has a desire and then it's immediately satisfied.
Yeah, because they're trying to create an emotionally detached world. Whether it's the I guess whether it is from the alpha to they're all trying to make this emotionally sort of, I guess, removed society.
Okay.
What do you have, Rylan? What is that? Oh.
Oh, funny. Someone breaking back in on me. You keep walking.
Why is it so orange?
It's red, but the camera
Big up,
makes it
Seven.
look orange. You're just colorblind, Luke. Okay.
Well,
is that it for that chapter?
I think that's like the major parts.
Okay. I was gonna say if maybe like quick bathroom break and grab water or something. 'Cause I am quite parched. So I'm gonna be right back.
I'll be
I am thoroughly disappointed. Well, a little sidebar conversation.
I
How
have
do
a
we think
question.
this? Yeah. Okay, Java. Now shoot it.
Does the Brave New World support Marxism?
What?
Ooh, Marxism and Brave New World. Well, considering Bernardo's last name is Marx.
Oh,
But you
definitely
also have
that. Yes.
a guy named Benito, and then you also have a guy.
Yeah, you also got a guy named Benito Hoover. So
Benito Hoover, and then you have the other dude who's like German. He sounds. Is it Heinrich? Was his name or whatever?
I already forgot. Helmholtz.
Hamilton. That sounds like. You know, one could also make the connection, maybe a name combination of Herman Goring and Heinrich Himmler.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
With Benito and then a dude.
Okay, go get your freaking water, Alan. Get out of here.
I mean, no way it's about communism, but this is about communism.
Yeah.
It's very consumer. It could maybe it's very
Like, there's a lower caste.
Yeah.
Can you stop mumbling?
Huh?
Can you stop mumbling?
No.
I can like barely hear you.
Why is Jevin just a silhouette?
Dude,
Jevin, so
Can you hit the tab for us?
oh.
so Jevin, you know how cameras work, right, Jevin? Your brain can comprehend it, right?
What the fuck? It's a fucking bagel.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Anton, what the hell,
Oh
dude?
my god.
You you ruined it, dude.
We're doing so well.
Yeah, no,
What happened?
Well, we're like 40 minutes in.
Oh.
Shoot. Alright, so we have what, chapter 5 and chapter 6 left?
Yeah, and then we'll do like a plot summary at the end.
Whoa.
Um,
We can do our
Well, not
predictions,
summary.
our
We'll just-
expectations,
with our expectations and what we think is gonna happen. Okay.
a short coronavirus discussion.
Of course, yeah. So, by the way, chapter 5, I'm gonna be straight up.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand what happened.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
Me
Okay.
too.
I told him.
Oh, I didn't understand. I really did not understand. it.
Helicopters.
There's helicopters, that's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just helicopters.
Let's see what Spark knows.
Like-
All I know is somehow in the next chapter they ended up in New Mexico. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Well, that was the gun going to New Mexico and out into the Americas when I wanted to go with Lenina out on the reservation
Yeah,
because this is their like vacation or whatever.
that's how chapter 6 ends. We'll just combine chapters 5 and 6. I really don't care. That's how. Stop doing that. This is how chapter 6 ends with them on the reservation, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think they have sex.
Chapter 6?
In
No,
five.
chapter 6. They're in the reservation, and they go into the pueblo.
Yeah.
We're in a helicopter. They did drugs and that's in chapter 5.
Yeah,
they do have
like-
sex.
like-
They have sex. They have sex in chapter 6.
No,
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
isn't chapter 5 the one with like the orgy porgy?
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
drugs.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was very confusing.
So let's just
They had sex. That's crazy.
so let's discuss this orgy scene because that's
Yeah, very. We really have to break this down for the people listening out there.
yeah. So let's
And the Soma.
break this down from a scene.
Oh, what?
Let's
Well, I'm gonna.
I watched the stream. What's the stream on? It's on YouTube. What's your
Dude,
YouTube?
on like on the Frisbix Instagram, just say like I'm streaming right now, live stream.
Yeah, it's on my what's it? It's basically it's the same name as my Twitch.
Okay.
that's
Well,
what we should.
let's focus on chapter 5 because that is with the Soma and the orgy.
Okay. So let's.
They
And
had
the Soma being the
Fine.
drugs that they take.
They had drugs and they had sex.
Mm. So in my headcanon, I think of Soma not unlike a marijuana-like drug.
Yeah.
A downer,
No.
I would say. But like they take a bunch of it, but they also don't seem to have any like particular effects. It just seems
Yeah.
like they take it and then they're just like, ugh. So
Yeah.
Alex read. So one thing, like that. The Soma, right? Like it, like so lets people see more things, but like I'm like kind of confused on like what that means. Like that, like their perspective wide, or like just like that they just see more stuff. Like I'm like just not really sure what that means. Like, it's not like some Bloodborne. Like
Just
like some like
Stupid.
to gain like some insight. Like
Please just never make that reference again.
Come on, dude.
I got a advertisement. Please sponsor.
I do like how it does say that they T-pose.
They what?
Oh yeah.
Wait, they do pose? Hold up.
Wait, no. I
You
thought
read it, Rylan.
I
I
thought I
thought-
made it very clear. My book is not here yet.
no, they T-pose for Model T, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make this stand up, make they T-pose. You know, just a quick little
What, just like this?
orgy,
it's-
orgy forward and fun. Because some
It's like,
Can we now let's all simultaneously stand up and T-pose real quick. That includes you, Jevin.
I'm doing it.
Stand
I
up,
just
Jevin,
you can't see
stand
me.
up.
Stand up where? I'm on a fucking. Oh,
Whoa, Jevin! We don't use that language.
come on, Jevin.
all right. Soma, drugs.
Yeah, drugs. Okay.
Yes. Soma. Okay, so
Oh my
what
God.
could that really mean?
I think it's just another example of how they just literally anything for instant gratification. They don't care who does drugs. They just want everyone to be,
It's
at least on the surface, they want everyone to be happy and
Yeah.
not think about
it's
their
supposed
actual
to try
problems.
and just any relations to unhappiness to keep them in line.
Yeah.
And it's like the addiction. It's like
They basically
Yeah.
want this.
if we're being honest, there's no one that's actually ever happy.
Yeah.
Life is always sad.
So what, this whole system of stability, right? Like, it's to give, like, the simulation of happiness, and like, so, like, and like, so, what we perceive to be happiness is like what we're reading right now.
Yeah, I don't think. I believe that because they got rid of a lot of like the ambition part of the unpredictable and like the uniqueness of human being a person,
Mm-hmm.
that would just end this amount of drugs. Like it's not the same, you know. So I think by creating stability, you sacrifice a lot of happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's sort of what its book is getting to, and with dealing with a lot is happiness over, I guess, sort of individual freedoms.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I have a
And it
question.
deals with that through Bernard and everyone else.
Yeah.
Question. Would you sacrifice your own personal freedoms if you were guaranteed happiness in life?
Would I sacrifice my own personal freedoms if I was eternally happy?
Well,
No,
you're already
well-
eternally happy.
Yeah, I'm just the happiest person on the planet.
That's
So,
actually
what?
quite emotional.
Yeah, why would I ever have to change anything?
Yeah.
I think that is.
I'm gonna hit it with the fat no, Jevin. That's a dumb question.
Are you gonna ask us individually, Jevin? Or are you
Yeah, you just
No,
Yeah.
satisfied? Are you satisfied, Jevin?
you're sad.
No, I'm not. There's two other people have not answered. All right.
Okay, Anton, answer the question.
Okay.
You know what?
So
I asked the best one.
I would
Okay.
as not like give up some of my free will.
Okay, congratulations. That's the right answer. Rylan, what would you do?
Probably the exact same response that you gave to Jevin.
Ah, nice. Jevin, you're stupid. Connor, what would you do?
I would 100% give up my freedom to be happy.
You
Ah.
do. That's what. Except you're not happy and you have no freedom.
Yeah, you're not happy with no freedom. Basically, the best of both worlds. Anyway, on to chapter 6.
Pretty accurate.
Wow, no
Okay.
one's question I
Shut up,
gave.
Jevin, are on chapter 6.
No, Jevin, your any opinion you have is just not.
Basically, we talked about drugs and happiness. Now,
Your mic completely.
Jevin,
cut out.
thoughts
I have
on-
no idea what you just said.
Your mic is so broken, dude.
It only took 50 minutes for us to descend into complete chaos, and it's all because.
Do I need to
Jevin
type
asked
it
a
out?
Stupid question.
Yeah, type it out.
Okay, okay.
On orgy.
Huh?
Question mark.
So thoughts on orgies?
Oh, Jevin, thoughts on orgy?
Yes. Thoughts on orgies, Jevin. Thoughts on orgies.
Jesus
Something
Christ.
you enjoy in your free time?
So we should have more of these.
Anton, no. This is the most immature
Okay.
group of people to talk about this topic.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh my god, everyone's just so stupid.
Okay, okay, let's move on to chapter 6. I know we don't have much time left, so we need to chop here.
Chop suey.
Like this
Chop,
one.
shut up, idiot. Okay,
No way.
so chapter 6 was about their ventures in New Mexico, the greatest nation on the planet. Home,
Adventures?
home to your best friend. Oh god, please don't. Please don't.
It was in the chapter. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, okay,
Tom,
yeah.
you just see this as adventures.
Stacks. We get it.
Yeah.
Wait, what part did they sexualize him?
I really have to find it.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I didn't see that.
All right. Well, let me look at my copy of the book, which is also Spark Nuts.
Which is also
But
I had a mouthful of Do it, Chuck.
Yeah, I forgot where this part. Some part.
I don't
Do I
know.
think?
wait,
You're
so
the
she.
Mexican retro-
Wait,
Wait, what? What?
never mind. I don't know.
Okay.
Alright, whatever.
So,
They're in New
like-
Mexico.
Take a drink, Connor.
Yeah, so biggest part
What is wrong with you, Ryan?
of like their sexual encounter. So was that like so Bernard was just kind of like was hesitant to have sex so with
Wait.
Lenina.
What part was this in?
I do not know. I think it's the second part of 6.
Okay.
Just can't find it.
Well, guys, how much time left in the game?
8 minutes or 7 minutes.
Like-
If you shut up.
30 minutes. Okay.
Or so maybe in part 3, maybe. So maybe in part 3, because I can't find it, dude.
Yeah, I thought I imagine it's really close to the end because it literally ends with them like walking into the thing, the thing in New Mexico. Also, they keep talking about the savages.
Yeah.
Being as it's only chapter 6, and I have not read past that, I don't exactly know what those people are, but I can only imagine individuals not unlike Rylan.
Yes.
Like
So-
just actual monkeys.
So you know, I think we've generally we've come to a natural conclusion on what we've read so far. What do you guys think? What do you guys think might occur in the next upcoming chapters?
Okay. We get to know who like these savages are. And
Ryan?
then, like we'll see so what what in the civilian class with the savages. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'll show you a savage.
I have 2 Aldous Huxley books.
Well, aren't you cool?
Oh my!
This is the savage. Kid Esposito right here. That's one of the savages.
Stop talking. Oh my god. Okay, well, I think what's going to occur, there's undoubtedly going to be more orgies. It's my only prediction so far.
Mm-hmm.
What about drugs?
Definitely more drugs. I don't see that going away anytime
Yep.
soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna see more conflict over the state control versus like the individual. Same with
I think
emotions.
Bernardo about to go savage.
Ooh, Bernard's gonna go sicko mode. Yeah, he's gonna like,
Sicko mode.
he's gonna like nuke London or something. He's gonna like turn into.
A French Revolution.
He's gonna become the next Han Solo. And
Jevin, having really delved
The
yourself
London
deep,
Hatcher.
having really, shut up, Jevin, having really delved deep into the text. What are your predictions?
Basically, all right. What's gonna happen is,
I love that Jevin's just
Like-
a black figure.
dude, I can't make it brighter.
He's not smart enough.
I know.
Jevin, so once again, you understand how cameras work, don't you? You need if you want to be able to be seen, you have to spin 180 degrees.
Yeah, you need
Wait,
like,
what?
on you, not away from you.
Yeah, you need okay, whatever.
Bring your body full 180.
No, it's all good. We're like,
Like,
Okay, whatever.
it's
Jevin,
just-
what are your thoughts?
That's simple.
All right, we'll go one by one. Jevin, starting with you.
A simple task for a simple mind. Like, except.
Jevin, either turn 180 degrees or answer the.
oh, what's the question?
Oh my god, okay, well, thank you for your attendance. I'm
No, we're not done
seriously,
yet. We still have like
Thank you,
4
Missy
minutes.
Ball.
oh my god, I'm seriously considering punching Jevin in the face. I am seriously considering it.
How can we go downhill this fast? Anton,
No. What's the question?
shut up, Jevin.
Shut up! You've been banned. I'm gonna keep
Anton,
this call.
thoughts on the upcoming? Yeah.
Wait, what?
Thoughts on predictions. Give us your predictions.
Okay.
Expectations and predictions.
So, I'm suggesting that like with this stability, like to be like thrown off in some way, like um, um, so, so most likely these are the savages, and like we might have like a French Revolution or something. So
Wait,
Yeah.
why is this camera on?
There was a reference to
we don't
Robespierre.
have one.
There was a reference to Robespierre earlier in the book. I don't remember where,
Mr. Robespierre, Phoenix,
but there was. There
Oh
was-
my god.
Okay, well, I think in these final minutes, it's more
Let's ask
important
Rylan
that.
for his thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so.
I have thoughts. What are you thinking all day?
Okay, well, since I do not have the book, I'm pretty much just gonna agree with everything they say, but honestly, it's probably more likely there's just gonna be drugs and more murders. Like, that's just. And I do think it's a
Yeah.
revolution.
Drugs, orgies, revolution. You've heard it today. Jevin, I'm thoroughly disappointed in you.
We still have 2 minutes. We still have 2 minutes.
Rylan,
I got
I'm slightly less disappointed in you.
Wait, but like, okay, wait. Doesn't make sense.
I think we've said all that should be said.
So
I-
30 seconds.
Well,
I have ideas.
let's do a COVID update. How's everyone's
Yeah,
How's-
COVID.
how's everyone's quarantine
It's
experience happened? Yeah, Anton looks
great,
like he's adjacent to suicide. Rylan is
It is great, dude.
Rylan
I
is
have
literally
played so
trying
much
to
Blood.
crawl into his own sphincter. Connor,
Like, bro.
Connor's room is probably the cleanest I've seen it in the last 3 years.
I look like Shrek in Shrek 1 who's got the knight's helmet on.
Oh my god.
Jevin refuses to be seen, so
Well, I'm seeing, like, I'm in the.
Jevin, you still haven't answered the question. Do you know how a camera works?
Hey, Luke, why
No,
don't
I
you have
don't.
a camera, Luke?
oh, I ordered it from China a month and a half ago. Still isn't
Dude,
here.
can you not use your phone? Like,
Anton, can you just like not like shove it your entire body into your camera? Like what? I don't want to.
Eat your phone.
I do
Eat your
not want to
phone.
look at your pores.
Oh my god.
What
Rylan.
are you trying to do? What do you? Huh? What? What do you want?
Are you
Stop being a
an
retard? Are you an idiot?
I hope she doesn't watch
I'm
this.
just causing.
Jevin, did you answer the question?
Yeah, I did.
Answer the question, Jeff.
Jevin, do you know how a camera
I'm gonna
works?
drink water through
No,
my
like
You said no. Okay.
Like, yeah, I can't work.
Rylan, you're an ape.
I just drank
Honestly,
water.
And on that bombshell, it's been an hour.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you for watching.
Well done. Thank you for attending.
We made it
Jevin
to an hour.
was the largest failure I've ever seen. I'm really disappointed.
honestly, Luke, you could be on the camera. Honestly, no, you can use your phone. Like, not that hard.
I know I can use my phone. It's just I can't I have to prop my phone up, which would make me want to die. So.
You can always act like you're blogging. Like, yeah.
Did you end the stream, Aaron?
Nope.
Rylan, I hope you break your arms.
Okay, we're done here.
God damn.
If you made it this far.